Kia ora and welcome to Sam's Take, a series about entertainment news and reviews, with me, Sam Realstone. Today I'm looking at Sony's latest offering in their Spider-Man universe with my review of Venom, There Be Carnage. Directed by Andy Serkis, the film follows Eddie Brock and Venom, both played by Tom Hardy, trying to piece together their life after the events of the first Venom film. Eddie finds himself the obsession of serial killer Cletus Kasady, played by Woody Harrelson, who promises him a big journalistic scoop in exchange for being a carrier pigeon for his messaging. I'm glad they kept what worked from the first movie, that being the relationship between Eddie and Venom. Their relationship is great, like a couple of buddies who may or may not be in love with each other romantically, with Venom trying to help Eddie through the pains that life throws at him before the pair begin one of their many bickering exchanges. Hardy is more than competent and having the time of his life in the dual role of human and symbiote, and you can tell in all of the interviews that he does how much he adores and respects the character and their lore. But that's about all that's compelling, unfortunately. The film just has a lot of weird, long-winded threads that just don't make a cohesive story. The writing is slapdash, much the same as the first, in that there are elements that work, but it's a bit of a hot mess. But not the kind that's like cult classic, I know this is trash, but I love it hot mess. Which is a shame, because I like Andy Serkis a lot, and of course I never want a film to be bad, but I guess that's sometimes how it goes. There's also the most obnoxious exposition scene I've seen in a while, presented creatively however, but it's kind of a shame to see a beloved character's backstory not really given the care it deserves. Woody Harrelson's performance and that of Naomi Harris's, who plays his love interest, Frances Barrison, or Shriek, are pretty standard and cliche serial killer / psychopath. It's an interesting Bonnie and Clyde dynamic for sure, but the acting is too hammy and trying too hard to be scary and threatening. They just look like amateurs to me. And having him say the subtitle of the movie is just... Cletus Kasady's symbiote Carnage is, I don't want to say forgettable, but a rather uninteresting take on the character. Just a little bit too cookie cutter for me. They did well to capture his unbridled chaotic nature though. The animation of the one fight scene in the movie is less symbiote soup than the last film, but only by a little bit. There's also one joke or reference that keeps coming up again and again, which is the title Lethal Protector, which Venom wants to call himself. This is a reference to a famous 1993 comic storyline of the same name, where Venom is given his first solo outing in a series set in San Francisco, where he makes his transition from villain to anti-hero. But bringing up the title over and over is just like, we get it. It's a movie about a specific comic. Overall, it's nothing new or revolutionary, and it doesn't have to be, but it's still disappointing because I like Tom Hardy in this role and the Venom character, plus the symbiotes have a lot of good story to tell. So it's not a massive recommendation from me, unfortunately, but I do encourage you to go out there and form your own opinion. Now, I am going to talk about the one post-credit scene, which is a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want to know anything about that, I'll see you in the next video. So, in a mid-credit scene, we see Venom and Eddie in a tropical hotel room. Then a strange effect begins to happen and they appear in a completely different hotel room where J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons, is on the TV as he appeared at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, revealing the identity of Spider-Man to be Peter Parker, as he did at the end of that movie. So, does that mean that Venom has crossed the multiversal line to be in the MCU? Maybe. See, Sony owns the rights to Spidey and his entire Rogues Gallery, so they can actually do whatever they want with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Venom, whoever. And they are creating their own little series of interconnected films with the first Venom, its sequel, and a Morbius movie coming out early next year. Morbius, in short, is a living vampire and one of Spidey's villains. In the trailer for the Morbius movie, the titular character, played by Jared Leto, comes across Michael Keaton's Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming. Morbius also mentions Venom by name. So, does this mean Morbius is in the MCU or Sony's own Spidey cinematic universe? Unsure as of yet, because again, Sony can use these characters however they like and don't have to tie it to the MCU. But it does seem that Sony is using these films to introduce new characters to audiences, and if they prove popular, like Hardy's Venom, they then jettison them into the big boy sandbox of the MCU. So, with Spider-Man No Way Home out in a few weeks and dealing with the multiverse quite directly, only time will tell whether we're going to see Venom in the MCU or Sony's own strange, semi-canon universe. In my opinion, given Marvel's focus on the multiverse and the strange portal type effect that happened during the mid-credit scene, my money is on it being MCU canon now. But it is also a little strange since, in the trailers for the next Spider-Man film, it appears the multiverse splintering happens after his identity is revealed, whereas this scene has Venom coming in while it is still being revealed. This could also be a case of Sony just doing a thing and Marvel later having to fix it or just won't explain at all. Regardless, we'll find out soon enough. Thanks for watching this episode of Sam's Take. I'll be back next time with more entertainment news and reviews.